Hi, I'm Dr. R.G. Allen Wilson. You may recognize me as a leading relationship expert for TV programs such as CNN, The Today Show, Good Day Philly, Fox 29, Tamron Hall Show, Mel Robbins Show, and local and national radio shows, just to name a few. I want to invite you to a very awesome opportunity that will enhance your life. Having courageous conversations that connect is key for a healthy relationship with ourselves and others. Knowing the right strategies and techniques aren't as simple as we think. There are principles to understanding how we all think and feel. Right now, you can join in my free quarantine talks to learn what others spend thousands of dollars in therapy to know. Each day, while we are in quarantine at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can watch, listen, and learn tips that will help you get through this challenging time in our lives. Here's the good news. There is absolutely no cost for you to participate. Tune in on YouTube, Facebook, and the Gram at Ask Dr. RG. I look forward to seeing you join our crew. And that's connecting relationships for epic wins. Have a beautiful day on purpose. From my heart to yours.
Well, good morning. This is Dr. RG here, yours truly, and this is the Courageous Conversations Connect space where we're having our quarantine talks. Yep, this is August 13th, 2020. We are in our 21st week. This is our 69th episode. Can you believe it? It's been 69 episodes since we began quarantine talks way back in March. It seems like a lifetime ago. And we've created this platform for you, for our crew, connecting relationships for epic wins. So do me a favor, go on over to YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube page, Ask Dr. RG, AskDrArgie. Also tag a friend, share this video, let folks know that we're on. We've got a great show planned for you. I already see Dr. Gail on. I see Angie, welcome to the show. I see Deshawn Myers. Hey, Deshawn, China's on. Welcome to the show. We got a great show planned for you today. Listen, all week, we've been talking about freedom fighters. That's been our topic for the week. What's worth fighting for in the midst of two pandemics, right? And so specifically today, especially given our recent nomination of our Vice President Biden, who selected Senator Kamala Harris as the pick to be his running mate for VP, right? So we're going to be talking about women lead, right? We got to strengthen up. We got to tool up. We got to step up, speak up, stand up, and women are going to be at the helm. So I see Charlotte is on and BJ is on. Well, we've got a specific guest. I call her my sister from another mister. She is also my soror, Reta Jo Lewis. We're going to bring her back on. I'm going to introduce her many accolades, and we're going to have a great, courageous conversation. So listen, stay with us while we go on our quick break. Think about who you're breathing for and with, because we're going to come back. I'm going to introduce our guest, and we're going to get into our breathing exercise and then our courageous conversation. Don't leave us. Stay with us. And this is Dr. RG here. Welcome to the Courageous Conversations Connect space. Well, without further ado, as I promised, we have a treat for our crew, connecting relationships for epic wins. So tag a friend, call someone, text someone, tell them to sign on to this platform right now. We're on IG, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter at the Ask Dr. RG. Without further ado, I want to introduce my sister from another mister, my soror, my friend, Reta Jo Lewis. Welcome.
Hey, RG, how are you doing today? Hello, everybody.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. I am so excited that you agreed to be on our show. You look fabulous, by the way.
Thank you so much.
Love the background, love all of that. Listen, So for all of you all who don't know, and hey, Teen, I see her on. For all of you who don't know, Rita Jo Lewis, one, she's both a really good friend of mine, but also the sister of one of my besties, Charlie Lewis. We know the no other, the one and only Charlie Lewis,
Charlie Lewis.
amongst many other people. Again, Bishop Sharma Lewis and Latine Lewis and your other sister, and you all just come from a host of leaders, specifically leaders that are women. So I felt like this was a wonderful opportunity for you to come on and talk about how women lead. You are the founder of Women of Color for Biden and now Biden Harris, the director of congressional affairs. Yes, yes. Director of Congressional Affairs and Senior Fellow at the German Marshall Fund of the United States, and also the State Department's first ever former special representative for global intergovernmental affairs under the Obama administration and at the U.S. Department of State, and also under Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and John Kerry between 2010 and 2020. And some of the things that Rita, you have done in terms of leading the charge, the Office of Building Strategic Peer-to-Peer Relationships between the U.S. Department of State, U.S. state and local officials and their foreign counterparts. So you're doing a lot, to say the least, and that's not all. So I want, one of the things we do is we breathe. We start this platform out, Courageous Conversations Connect Space. Morgan and I decided that we wanted to do a community give back. We were home safe and sound, and we were feeling like we needed to share. One of the things we realized is that people were anxious, people were upset, people were stressed out. Many of us were feeling like our rituals and our norms have been stripped from us. And so I tell people, you got to start out and set your intentions for the day with breathing. I say the 5 M's: mindfulness, meditation, movement, meaningful engagement, and music, right? And I saw you jamming to the beat to the music.
I love that music. I may take that. I may take that.
So I want you, if you'd be willing to, and everyone else in the chat, I want you to share in the crew who you're breathing for and with as we move into our breathing exercise. I am right now, I'm going to be breathing for Senator Kamala Harris. Since we're talking about women leading, I think she needs our prayers. I think she needs our breath and our good energy. And she's in for a fight, but I think she's prepared for it. So that's who I'm breathing for. Who are you breathing for?
You know what? I'm going to do the same, Sarah. I'm going to be breathing for our Democratic nominee, fabulous, just awesome Senator Kamala Harris. But I also am breathing for my mom this morning because, that is the ultimate leader of our family and the ultimate leader who I have always looked up to. So I have to do a little twofer this morning. But
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Your mom is amazing. Your mom, from afar, I have seen her leadership of her family along with your father before he passed. Mm-hmm. And we know we don't get to this place without some amazing women ushering us into this place, and we're standing on their shoulders. So thank you. Oh, Shirley Pearlie's on. Good morning, Cheryl. She's up early because I know that, she's in a different time zone. So listen, this is what we do in our breathing exercise, and I see Gwinnetta as well. Everybody in the crew knows. Crew stands for Connecting Relationships for Epic Wins. We're going to breathe in through our nose. We're going to hold it for 8 seconds in honor of the knee that was on George Floyd's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. And then after the knee stayed on his neck, after the last breath left his body. We know breath is life. We know that people that are coming down with this COVID-19, it affects their respiratory systems. And so we're going to be breathing for all those essential workers as well. And then we're going to hold it, and then we're going to breathe out through our mouth. We're also not only breathing oxygen in and carbon dioxide out, but we're breathing in, as we think about it and close our eyes, hope and love and freedom and peace and joy and serenity and calm. Those are the things that I want everyone to think about. And when we breathe out, we're going to breathe out fear and worry and frustration and anxiety and anything that is not helpful to us. That's what we're going to breathe out, okay? We either put our middle finger to our thumb, or we put our one hand over the next on our lap, or to the side, whatever is comfortable for you. And then we put our back straight and we kind of do a little jiggle so that we can kind of get relaxed or what have you. Angie says she's breathing for her daughter who's leaving for her senior year in college tomorrow. So all those parents out there that are anxious about their kids going back to school, we're breathing for them for sure. And Charlotte says she's breathing for Senator Harris and all women. All right, so let's get to it. At the sound of my voice, I'm going to count to 3. Great, we're on time. It's 10:10. And as everyone participates, once I count to 3, we're going to breathe in through the nose. I'll count with my fingers and breathe out. We're going to do that 5 times, and we're going to get on with the show. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. One last time, make it count, crew. Breathe in. And breathe out. That felt good, right? That felt good. You felt that air in the belly, calming, setting your intentions. Yeah, so I encourage everyone, Rita, to do that throughout the day, because when we're in a fight, right, we forget to breathe.
Yeah.
When we're stressed out, we forget to breathe. When we are anxious, we forget to breathe, and we need oxygen to live. And oftentimes, even when we're anxious and we're in this fight, our cortisol levels accelerate, they go up, our adrenaline levels. And we also know that our immune system is compromised, and many people are getting COVID-19 and impacted more deeply, really, quite frankly, getting sicker because their immune systems are compromised. So breathing is a part of life. Charlie's on your mother, brother from another mother. What's up, Charlie?
Charlie.
Brother, Charlotte's on. She's and Tom Cook is on as well. So, all right, let's get into this conversation, Rita. Tell me what I want to start off by finding out from you how you found yourself getting into politics as a woman. Since we're talking about freedom fighters, and my Cheryl, I'm going to go on and say that's my mom who passed on. She was my Cheryl, as well as Harriet Tubman. I feel like she did the darn thing, right? She freed more slaves. She said she would have freed more slaves had they known they were slaves, right? So she's my Cheryl, as well as Dr. Marlene Watson. But tell me how you got into politics and how you have managed to, move agendas as a woman leading for all of these years.
First of all, Arjun, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be with all of you this morning. I just want to say hello and to say what a glorious day that we're having here, to be able to wake up on this morning knowing that a Black female, a Black woman lawyer, a woman who is going to be a change agent and has broken the biggest, hardest glass ceiling, to be on a Democratic ticket as the vice presidential nominee is just beyond belief. And so, when you think about that, you also then have to think about the question that you just asked is like, well, where did all of your activism come from? And I will tell you, it really came from my parents. It came from my mom, who was the president of the NAACP in our local community. It came from my father, a business leader who was working right there alongside of her in the Democratic Party. And so I saw at a very early age, I would say even since the beginning of my teens, when I was 13, being asked to go to integrate my junior high school. And that my parents were the plaintiffs in that lawsuit. And so I saw from a very early age about the fight for justice or the fight for equality. And it has just been something that has, I would think, say, has gone on throughout our family's life, and my life.
Wow, wow. So I've always known from the first day I met Charlie Lewis, your brother, on Howard University's campus. Shout out to the HBCU, the
They-
greatest HBCU on the planet, Howard University. I knew there was something about him that was special. And then I felt like, okay, well, then that means that he's got to come from good stock. And as I got to know him more and got to meet all of his sisters, and you all sort of became my sisters, and then my family expanded. Then I got to know a little bit more about the Lewis family. And, basically, Mama Lewis and Dad Lewis, they were raising activists, they were raising advocates, they were raising these powerful people that were fighting for justice. And even your dad and your mom as entrepreneurs, having all of these businesses, they taught you all that, you got to continue to fight the good fight. And so when you think about this momentous and historical occasion where now Joe Biden has selected a Black woman, I want to say that again, a Black woman, right? I know it's great to talk about our culture. I'm not dismissing that in terms of our ethnicity. I think that is what makes us great and diverse, right? However, let's not get it twisted. She is a Black woman. She looks like you and me. And I will tell you also that when I stepped on the campus of Howard University many years ago and got to see other Black women that were professors that had PhDs that were actually making a difference in the political terrain, and for all people, but people of color in particular, that sparked something in me too. So when you first found out that Biden had picked Senator Kamala Harris, tell me what feelings rushed through your mind, body, and spirit, and what's the trend? What's the trend and the buzz going on in DC now?
Oh, well, first of all, there's a lot of buzz going on in Washington, and I think there's a lot of buzz going on around the world, a lot of buzz going on in the United States. And we already can see that the other side just does not know how to pigeonhole and put her in a box, because there is no box for our nominee. She is out of that. There is no box. And she has lived a life that has been about upward mobility. I would tell you it is, I would have to say, where was I? I was out walking. And I came back in and they said, don't go too far because the news is coming soon. So I think, all of us knew it was coming within days. And then as the media began to report, it was going to kind of happen. And people were calling and I know the friends that I was on the phone with, and we were just shouting and just jumping up for joy. I think I had a little bottle of champagne I had been saving. I had popped that champagne bottle because I was like, you know what? This is that type of a moment. And so you had to kind of also sit back and savor the moment of knowing that the battle and the fight that has gone on since Shirley Chisholm, has gone on with the first Black woman who ran for president on a ticket. It has to, you had to sit back and think about, I thought about, I hearken back this week, to when I worked for Vice President Walter Mondale, who was our Democratic nominee in 1984. I was with Vice President Mondale as his trip director, working with Geraldine Ferraro when she was named the first woman. So you had the first woman, Geraldine Ferraro, that I had the honor to be around because I was working with for Vice President Mondale. And then you saw, the Republicans, they nominated someone, a governor. And then, I worked for Secretary Clinton for years and worked for the President Clinton. And that was the second Democratic woman who was the head of the ticket. And then to see only this time an African-American woman being named, a woman who has proud heritage of her Indian descent. And we have to also honor that. So I just, you just sat back and you had to think about it. You had to, everybody was calling everyone, women, men, the kids, because it's something you've never seen before. And to know that you understood what that meant, you knew who that person was, as you all gave the big shout out to Howard University, to be a woman, being, I think, the first woman from an HBCU. That
Mm-hmm.
means a great deal for the young people, old people like, a friend of mine said yesterday, her mother was 90 years old and she was dusting off her pink and green.
Pink and green.
she
Alpha
was,
Kappa Alpha.
she was dusting,
Sorority Incorporated.
she was
A part
dusting
of
off
that.
her pink and green. But it really, I think that the occasion is what it is. What it is. It says that we are in a battle, and the vice president said it, I think, so accurately. We're in the battle for the soul of this country. And she said it yesterday. We're also in the battle because we now have to form a coalition of conscious, of individuals in this country who are going to vote in November. And that is really the exciting part for someone like me who's been involved in presidential campaigns for a very long time.
Yeah, you've been doing it. You've been up in the thick of things. Listen, I want to have some insight and some questions from our crew. Shirley Pearly says breathing. She was breathing for Senator Harris, and for those who are for some reason still anxious about the ticket, we need good energy. I
Yeah.
appreciate that, Shirley Pearly. Yeah, Dr.
Mhm.
Gail Logan, who is one of the first people after I graduated from Howard that hired me. Didn't know anything about anything, but she took a chance on me. So talking about women lead, Dr. Gale says,
Mhm.
absolutely wonderful about Senator Harris is the VP candidate. It is an honor to meet you, Attorney Lewis, and I'm so excited to listen to your comments this morning. That's what Dr. Gale says. Mama Stokes says, good morning. Cynthia Mead says, Biden-Harris ticket 2020. And Satrina says, you are a hidden figure. She's talking to you, Rita
Thank
Jo Harris.
you.
So listen, I want to get your feedback on a few things that have been stated. So for example, the orange man in the White House, he says that put the dog whistle out, that for all those suburban women who will vote for him, about low income people will be invading the neighborhoods and Senator Cory Booker will be in charge. So we knew that he was going to come hard, and we know that he has no bottom. There's just a sinking well of, negativity and racism and, misogynistic behavior and, xenophobia. Just there's no bottom for him. And so, can you speak to what you believe that we as women have to do, and particularly as Black women, to send, as Shirley Pearly says, is send that good energy and get more people out to vote, because the vitriol is coming and it's not going to stop. What are
I,
your thoughts about that?
I think one of the things is that not only is this like one of the most important elections in our lifetime, what it's going to, and I love the way you started the show about let's just center our energy, because we all have been very anxious about this selection. We've been anxious throughout this selection, but we all know that the good Lord says, as my sister tells me, that don't be anxious for anything. Is that we have to now take that and direct all of this energy in the work that has to be done. And there is work that has to be done. We're now on the football field, and we're going to have a lot of passes. We're going to have a lot of kicks. We're going to have a lot of tackles. But we have to remain focused on the finish line. We got to remain focused on that goal post and kicking that ball over or running into that end zone. But so before we can raise the ball, there is so much work to be done. Let's discuss what that means. We are going, because of COVID, there is not going to be that much in-person organizing where you can see each other face to face. Now, in our community and in a lot of communities, it's that personal attention that you have to give a voter when you ask him or her for their vote. They want to hear from you. They want to talk to you. But now they're going to have to hear from the campaign in a different way. But the most important thing is, I believe, they got to hear from their family and their friends and their colleagues. We had a conversation last night. We were very fortunate at Women of Color for Biden.com. It's www. We got to put that out there.
Say it again. Say it so people can hear it.
www.womenofcolorforbiden.com is our website. But we had a conversation last night with Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee from Texas. We had a conversation with the director of surrogates, Michelle Kwan, the international renowned figure skater who is the director of surrogate operations for the campaign. And we also had in our midst the national political director, Aaron Wilson, who has been with the campaign since they launched. And one of the things that those women of color said to all of us last evening was that we've got to organize. We understand, we are asking you who are on this call and others who, as they say, are within the sound of my voice, we're asking you for your volunteerism to move to another level. You have to ask yourself every day, what have you done to move the ball forward, to give homage to your ancestors, your parents, your family, to the Congressman John Lewis's, the C.T. Vivian's, the Reverend Lowry's? What have we done to enhance and we can't just be in celebration at this moment. We have to, we're going to celebrate, but we can't, it's not over. We have just begun. So the organizing has to happen. And in that organizing, we're going to have to be doing it digitally. We're going to have to be doing it from a social distance, safe perspective. And when we find ourselves in situations that allow us to be in contact with individuals, we got to now not just rely on a computer message. We've got to call people and talk to them and say, I need you to go vote. I need you to call 5 people today. I need you to go on to the joebiden.com website and put in, how do I phone bank? How do I do postcards? How do I do this differently? And in doing it differently, we know, it's not going to just be an email. It really is person-to-person contacts. What I always tell people is that there are so many concentric circles that all of us are in. Everyone on this phone, everyone who is listening to us is within a circle that they can influence. Whether it is their 18th person, their family member or friend that is turning 18 by election day, is it the parent who is maybe not living in your home that is now trying to understand, how do I vote by mail because I can't go out? Understanding to how to organize, influence, and take on the responsibility that this is our responsibility. People who you talking about, is it a privilege or a right to vote? We got to understand this is the time. And to have an African-American woman on the ticket, at the top of the ticket, when African-American women we know have been the backbone of the Democratic Party, we have been our most loyal constituency. We know all of that, but we can't stop now. So we've got to vote. We got to volunteer, and we got to check our registrations. We got to get others registered, and then we've got to make sure that on election day we are out there voting.
Oh yeah, I love it. And I think you answered Charlie's question, which was like, how do we do this in the virtual space? We've had some practice since March when COVID-19 hit. A lot of people were excited about the Zoom. Now people kind of gotten a little bit disenchanted with the screen time, but now is not the time to get disenchanted with anything. Now is the time to step up, to level up, to stand up, to speak up, to show up. And if we have to do it in virtual spaces, like Charlie says, what else can we do to work within those virtual spaces? Can we help senior people to get on the virtual spaces as well? What are your thoughts about that?
You know what, you're absolutely right. This whole digital organizing is something that everyone is learning. And people, the campaign, we've seen the vice president say to Americans, we want you to be safe. And we're not going to put Americans in stake. Even yesterday, when when the vice president and Senator Harris came out with themselves, and then they came out with their families, they did it in a socially distanced way. Because, we are all on social media. We are all watching what's going on on cable and television and everything. But the bottom line is, it's personal. Your voting is personal. We got to talk to each other, and we got to do it all. We got to talk about it until the last day before we go to vote. And then on that day, we cannot rest. We have got to be out there early. We've got to be calling people and saying, if you are going to the polls, let's talk about, let's make sure you're doing it in a safe way. But in a few short weeks, some states are going to be voting already because you're of early voting.
Right.
And we saw in the primaries during COVID how a lot of confusion is out there. A lot of these states are causing dissension. There's a lot of disinformation. And so finding out the rules, finding out and understanding how to vote in your own community is the most important thing, because their deadlines and their dates to request a ballot is different every state. There's deadlines and dates of how to and when you need to send that ballot back. There are deadlines and dates about early voting. Understand it is a rule by it's a state by state. So if your Secretary of State in any of our states in the country, if you just go to that, you can put in registration by mail, registration, how do I vote in my community? It is going to come up. And if you don't know, then as they say, that's why I believe in the each one bring one. Call up those young people and say, to your nieces and your nephews and your friends and your family members and say, how do I do this? And then they need to be calling their family members and saying, if you don't know how, let me tell you, I will walk you through it.
Yes, right.
There's going to have to be an unlimited amount of patience that I think we're all going to have to exist. Like, my sister called me up. She was like, how do I get on Facebook today? I was like, well, let me get on first. They say, put your own mask on. So we had to put the own mask on to get on StreamYard this morning. And then I called her back and I said, Argie, tell her how to get on how to get on your platform. Because everything is different. And that's what we're saying about every state is different. So we can't just sit back and wait on the campaign to call us. We got church communities, we've got sororities, and boy, do we have sororities. That AK, Sigma Theta, that Zeta Phi Beta, that those links, those Jack and Jills, as they say, they are coming, and I believe we are coming strong. Absolutely. And in that strength, we have all within our communities, men, our 100 Black men, our programs around our Christian communities, where men and women have joined together to educate and be a resource. So there's a lot of places that people can go. But the first place I say is within your own family, within your own unit. And then someone taking responsibility to help the others. I just got an email yesterday from a woman who's in our network. She said, I just sent out a large email to the family because we can't have a family reunion. But I said, we're going to have a reunion about voting and about what it means on Zoom. We're going to dedicate one of these conversations about that. So when we're having all the happy hours, can we just take 5 minutes and say, when are you voting?
How are you voting? Can I help you?
Can I help you? Do you know someone got to take responsibilities in all of our communities? And then one of the things we have to do for so many of us who are in concentric circles, we have to understand, as Senator Harris said yesterday, we're in a coalition of conscience right now. And we're going to have to reach beyond ourselves, not just within our own family network, but with the networks that we come into conversation. And, I said to someone I was getting off of, I said, I went in the store, to the drugstore. First question I asked when he said, can I help you? I said, have you voted? I know the man looked at me like,
you know what? We need trusted.
Are you voting? Because I don't have their voting. I don't have, but if they ask me, I will tell them.
Yeah.
But you give them a little wink and you say, Biden Harris. But you have to say, first of all, are you registered to vote? Are you voting? And do you know when we're going to vote? That's all you got to say. It's just raising of the consciousness. Now, I do believe after yesterday, the consciousness is raised. But
we got some enthusiasm. We got some enthusiasm.
Laurels yet.
Well, listen, a couple other people are saying, Deshaun says, every day my energy will be in prayer. And the message that all of our votes matter, I'm all in. And that's what we need. We need to be all in. Cheryl says, Rita, is there a list of affinity groups available? Do you know about?
Absolutely. Within, if you're voting Democratic, and if, that's who I am, always have been. On the Joe Biden for .com website, there are just a whole list of affinity groups. But you don't even have to do that. You can just go to the group. You can go to Facebook. You can go to Twitter, and you can punch in, veterans for Biden. You can punch in young people for Biden. You can punch in LGBTQ plus for Biden. You can punch in African Americans, women of color. You can punch in AAPI, the Asian group, Hispanics, Latinos. There are so many groups out there. Black women, Black, you name it. And the bottom line is, there's Pennsylvanians. Every state has a group for Biden, and then it just breaks down. And so yes, there are a lot of affinity groups. And I tell people all the time, be involved with as much as you have the time for, or if you're involved with grassroots fundraising, your money can afford. But right now, we want $5. $5. $5 will help us on our way.
A cup of coffee. That's a cup of coffee. Spare yourself. Sacrifice a cup of coffee.
That's right. Sacrifice that cup of coffee if you're buying a cup of coffee. But your time and your energy and your effort is what matter and what is the most important thing right now for us to elect a Democrat to be the 46th president of the United States.
Listen, I think we're going to do it. Not I think, I know, because we got to be positive about it. So listen, I was telling you a little bit earlier of an excerpt that I want to read about stretching and women leading. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back. We're going to talk about stretch, and then we're going to answer a few more questions, because I think everybody in the crew's got some questions for you. So will you stay with us?
Absolutely.
All right. We'll be right back.
Thanks, everybody.
We bring in a friend who we've known for years and years and years. He's an author, relationship therapist, Dr. R.G. Alan Wilson.
Some expert advice on how we can all talk to them. Joining us now is relationship expert Dr. R.G. Alan Wilson. She's the author of Courageous Conversations Connect. Good morning, R.G.
Doctor, good morning. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning, Janelle. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
And as we mentioned, a lot of people just dealing with anxiety during all of this. What are your suggestions?
Some of the things that we need to remember is that this is temporary. This is temporary inconvenience for long-term gain. And as long as we stay healthy, Janelle, then everything else is recoverable.
Talk to your children about what's happening right now. What are the best ways to do that?
There's some do's and don'ts, right? So you want to tell them that you're going to be here. We're going to be okay. Kids want to know that they're secure and they're safe. So predictability, structure, and consistency. You also want to let them know you have a plan. And even if you don't have a plan, tell them that you're working on one.
All right, everyone. Thank you for joining. Welcome back. This is Dr. RG here with Rita Jo Lewis, my sister from another mister and my soror. This is Courageous Conversations Connect, Quarantine Talks. And today we're talking about women lead. Women lead. So thank you for joining, everybody. Come on. If you know a friend or you feel like this is good information, share it, tag someone, tell them to come on to this platform. We're here every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 10 o'clock, and we're having these courageous conversations. So before we took that break, I wanted to read an excerpt from, you see, Courageous Conversations Connect. And I think this specifically relates to a lot of women out there. We know that Senator Kamala Harris is going to need all of us to have her back, to be supportive of her, to push positive energy in her way, because she's going to be facing a lot of energy, if you will, adversarial energy. So I wanted to read this. It's called Stretch. This is the week that is specifically entitled to Stretch. It says, even when you think you have nothing left in the tank and no more energy to expend, your spiritual connection will give you more internal strength in order for you to be an external blessing. Stretching yourself requires that you first engage in radical self-care. This is a both and, not an either or process. Stretching yourself as you prepare for whatever fight comes your way, whether it be a new relationship that you want to succeed in or a lost opportunity you felt was unjustly taken. It requires that you put your oxygen mask on first and breathe in energy in order to maintain the stretch that is required for you to win.
Mhm.
Stretch. Let's talk about that.
You know what?
What do you think the stretch is going to be? What kind of stretch?
Well, the stretch is going to be is like we have to kind of like, everybody's talking about these pandemics we're in, whether it's we're in this racism moment, this moment that is like right before us. We're in this COVID moment, and these two have converged, and we see all this hate and division that is being
Two viruses, right?
That's right. From two viruses. Now you add on hate and division around all of that, and you say, wow. When you look on television and see how many unnecessary lives have been lost in America, and people are in denial about just a simple safety measure of the ability to use a mask as one element to maybe save a life of someone, that it's heartbreaking. So when you say stretch, look at the parents and the families who are saying, wait a minute. I know they didn't sign on to homeschool. They've been paying their taxes and earning money to be able to send their kids to school, send their kids to college. They thought that was something that, as we move along the way in what we call America and how we educate ourselves, we're saying now, in the middle of what you have to do every day, that's the first stretch that you got to do, is you got to be thinking consciously of all that you have to do all day. So, that's tiring, because before, you get everybody off, or you get yourself off, and you go and you work all day and half the night, and then you come home. You didn't even have to worry about all these things, but it's been still right in front of us. And so I think the battle is going to be around disinformation. People used to say, oh, you know Hillary Clinton, but did you really know Hillary Clinton? It's kind of like, Joe Biden, but do you really know Joe Biden? You know Kamala Harris as the senator, but do you really know Senator Harris? I think people have to educate ourselves on who these people are so that we can debunk any of the negatives and the nasty myths. It's not to argue. We don't have to argue. We just have to be armed ourselves with information. So when someone comes upon us with that negativity, that we can easily say, you know what, I'm not even tolerating that. You got to take that someplace else, because most people, we are all in the battle, even ourselves, to understand history. So we got to understand the history of a John Lewis who recently left us, but left us with a letter that was published on the day of his funeral.
How about that?
About the need and the right that we need, that we possess, that we need to vote. He left us with the responsibility to tell us and to continue to educate us about what had gone on before us, about the people who have, as they say, bled and died. But we don't even have to look at that. We can just look at our families who have been fighters. My parents, as civil rights leaders and businessmen and women and working within a community, it wasn't just about ourselves and our family. It was also about our community. So that stretching has to happen each and every day. And within that stretching, we have to know that we're not alone anymore. We've got so much information at our fingertips. I think one of your callers put in the chat room how, if you're in Pennsylvania, I think they just put in the chat room where you can get the information from. So that's state by state. Just picking up the phone or going online or calling and asking someone, people do have it, and they will tell you. There's Daryl right there. And so I think the thing that I really would like to see is how we understand we're not voting just against someone. We need to be voting for someone. We need to be voting for someone, I believe, in a Joe Biden and now Senator Harris as his nominee, because they're going to be the individuals that are going to be talking about this economy that we are in the tank on, They're talking about how we're going to rebuild it for everyone so that everyone has an opportunity. They're talking today about pay equity. We know the pay scale where men make, where white females make, and then where black females and black people make. We know those lines of that. I mean, we're doing, what is it, 62 cents on the dollar? How can we do that? How can that still be? And so when you talk about stretch,
2020.
we in 2020, to be able to have someone who has that broad appeal in a Senator Harris and a Joe Biden, to be able to have someone with the political chops that they have, not just on domestic politics, but on also international politics, about the fact that our role in the world has been damaged, and that leaders around the world and people, they look to emulate America's democracy. And our democracy right now is at stake if we don't take it back in our own hands and vote out individuals who are against what we fundamentally value. And right now, that I believe is in the hands of individuals who have the political skills. So I'm not saying vote Democratic just because they're a Democrat. I'm saying let's arm ourselves with the education. Let's look at their plans for working families. Let's look at their plans of how we're going to put people back to work. Let's look at the Biden-Harris plan of how we're going to move this country forward and take on this pandemic and say once and for all, leadership is what matters, and that they're going to lead on day one, that they have the ability. Senator Harris has been in the Senate. Joe Biden has been in the Senate. Joe Biden has been in the vice presidency, serving alongside the loved Barack Obama. He has seen things firsthand, and on day one, they're ready to lead, and he has plans. And it's not just a plan for plan's sake. He has been inclusive about the development of these plans as they work for all Americans. And then look at those plans as they target individual communities. He's talking about entrepreneurs and how to assist them. He's talking about the access that they need for resources and information, and most importantly, economic opportunity and capital. He's talking about increasing the percentage of the amount of money that he wants to put in education, that he wants to target not only in pre-K and first grade to 12th, but also as people attempting to go to college. Look at what he has said, what he wants to do for historically Black colleges and universities to make sure that we know that they're the ones that are still educating the predominantly amount of African Americans and in this country, as well as Hispanic serving institutions. He wants to give them the continued support and foundation like they have not had in these 4 years. He wants to build on this economy. He wants to end. He's put forth and been fighting for, legislation about violence against women. He's talking about working families. He's talking, more importantly, about our caregivers. He's talking about our people out here on the front line of this epidemic. And then more importantly, to be able to name a partner who fundamentally understands the race issue, the justice issue. A woman who is a prosecutor who said when she was sworn in, her first thing was, I'm here to serve the people. And that's where I feel the embodiment of these two individuals is very important to me, because it is about we've got to get back to the possibility, because for the last 4 years, it's been in the doldrums, and it has not been a pretty sight in any of our communities. And so, that's where I think we're going, and it's exciting. It is very exciting.
It is exciting. Build back better. Listen, Dr. Logan, she says, Attorney Lewis, you mentioned influence. I'm assuming the influence that you are referring to is about the importance of voting and the ways to do so. The context in which I'm almost impulsively try to influence is not only to encourage voting, but any untruth to the current leadership utters. I make comments about the facts as I know them. My intentions and my goals are to implant the truth about the untrue statements, just for people to have doubts and to think for themselves. And I think her point is a valid point that you mentioned with regards to us not following and swallowing. You said it several times. We have to educate ourselves. We have to plot and plan and strategize, be tactical, organize ourselves, gain the information, and then share that information, and not just kind of be too afraid, quite frankly, to speak truth to power. I mean, I have kids in my practice, they're teenagers, and their young children in the suburbs are coming up to them and giving them information about how Trump has gotten so many jobs for Black people, right? Yeah. And then I'm saying to them, did you give them the information that you're armed with to dispel that lie? Because that is not true. Because if a Black person has to work 4 jobs to make half the amount that white person makes with 1 job, then that doesn't square up.
You know, the day, I think there's some great facts that your listeners and any listener can go to. Today, I believe Mark Morial, the president of the National Urban League, who I have worked very closely with, they put out the State of Black America. And in that conversation, I think people can go to the nationalurbanleague.com and they can see that report, but they can also see what has gone on in America that impacts African Americans. And in that, this morning, he talked about the pandemic and the disproportionate effect it has had on the African American and people of color communities. And in that disproportion, we know that a lot of the essential workers are people of color, and people have got to go to work because they are essential workers. But when they go to work, they want to be safe. They want to know that not only is their company or organization or entity or whatever sector they're working in keeps them safe, but as they walk outside, you know, it's now they're in the elements. And are we in communities that are keeping us safe? Are we in communities that are doing what it takes in whether it's our public restrooms, in our restaurants that we want to all run back to get food because some of us don't like to cook, you know? But no, you know, if people are talking about they want to get back, it is going to be different no matter what happens as we move beyond where we are right now. Because I'm not going to say beyond COVID, because, you know, we're all hoping and praying when that happened. But, you know, when you're in the moment that we're in right now, it's so precious. And when Gail, I think it was your callers wrote in the chat, when she's talking about influence, it's not just about influencing voting, it's about influencing information. Yeah. And if you're armed with the information yourselves, it doesn't necessarily just have to be about voting. It's also about the individuals, not just at the top of a presidential ticket on that ticket. It's everyone along the chain, because no question, it is about the down ballot. The people who are in your local communities who are getting elected, the judges, the sheriff, the council, the councilwoman, the legislator, the governor, the mayor, whatever race is being run right now is something that we've got to pay attention, because it's nothing like having a body of individuals that can assist the leadership who is at the top of that ticket. Look at what's happening in the Senate right now. The United States Senate is in play. It's in play because communities, the country over, are having issues where people don't feel like the current leadership might be doing what they need to do to keep them safe or to help them have a better opportunity. And so that's why a Democratic Senate is in play. We saw what happened in 2018 when all of the women came to Congress. And as we say, when women are at the table, when people of color are at the table, when African Americans are at the table, different things happen. People can focus on different issues. We can focus on issues that matter to us around homelessness, housing, economics, opportunity, jobs, you name it, education. Education. My parents always said, you get that education, and what did they tell us? No one can take it from you. And now we're all being also trained differently. The trainings, the certifications. We need to be able to have a government and have people at our state and local levels that want to see the citizens that they serve have equal opportunity.
That's right.
Equal, fair. Nobody's looking for a handout. People are looking for a fair shot. They're looking for equal opportunity. They're looking to be inclusive, included.
That's
So
right.
all of this diversity and inclusion, I said people just want to be included. Because if you're at the table, you have a conversation. You have an ability to be an advocate. So that's why I say anybody on this call is an advocate. Anybody on this call can be, you can be a diplomat. We used to say all you got to do is press send. You press send, you can talk to people the world over 24/7 all day long. If they're talking back, that's when conversations get started. So we're talking about, as they say, every day, all day about what's happening at the top of the ticket. But I also look at what is going on in local communities, because that's where the rubber meets the road.
Absolutely.
Look at what's happening right now about voting. You got secretaries of state who are trying to, and governors who may be putting up rules, that either is favorable or non-favorable. You got to fight about that. You got to fight against that. And we can't, the fight is not just, well, they filed a lawsuit, I don't have to do anything. You got to write your legislator. You got to ask questions. You got to organize within your family structure, your church structure, your sorority structure, your personal organizational structure. And you got to have a voice. That's why we're in a democracy. And we're going to do this democracy vigorously. And in doing that, we can be able to once again be able to stand up and say, you know what? That's why I believe in the red, white, and blue. That's why we're Americans. I want to be here. I don't want to be anyplace else. There is no government system better than the one we have, because you know why? Everybody else who wants to is trying to emulate the one we have.
That's right.
They know it's under threat. They know it's under attack. And the only way to defend against the attack is to go out and vote those leaders out that don't share our values, to vote those leaders out that don't want to defend our rights for free speech, defend our right for having a free press, defend our rights as women and minorities and African Americans to be here on an equal footing with everyone else. Here we are in 2020, and we're still fighting that battle, because as my parents used to say, it is always a fight. Doesn't matter where you are, it's always a fight. And we can't just fight for ourselves. We can't just fight for our family. We got to fight for our community, but now we've got to fight for our country.
That's right. Oh my goodness. So that's right in line with this week, Freedom Fighters. And I'm asking all of us in the crew, connecting relationships for epic wins. Where's your fight? What's your fight? Why are you fighting? And for what are you fighting? And then are you fighting for it, your country, your family, your community, or are you fighting against it? Because every act is going to impact you in one way or the other. It's going to impact you for the good of your system or for the negative part of your system. Because we are in a fight. We are in a fight. So listen, I know that you ran for mayor, and you were, I think, a more than willing and wonderful, phenomenal opponent. Can you just kind of share some silver linings, some pearls of wisdom for other Black women who are looking to lead in their communities and run? Because we do need to have a seat at the table, and Kamala is leading the way, but we also have to be there at the table as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I think you need to look around in your communities, and the first thing is for yourself, you cannot be fearful. You have a value system, you have experience, you have a belief of how you want to see your community better. And if you have that and you fundamentally are there, as my father used to say, you're trying to go help someone other than yourself. You got to make that decision first, because it is definitely not about you.
That's right.
Because every day when you wake up, someone is asking you to solve a problem for them. And so, you can't be fearful. I think you've got to be honest and true to yourself. You got to look at your experience. You got to look at your background. You got to, as they say, you need to vet yourself. As we look this time, I believe we see more. It is true that there's some groups out there that have been really, really helping women, and a lot of groups that's been helping African American women and women of color. There are more congressional women running for Congress than we have ever seen before. So change is going to come. Change will happen. And as they say, they tell me all the time, as I'm going to say this, they say, don't just run once, run again. And I'm like, okay. But the thing is that, there is no silver bullet. And in the silver bullet, you can't be looking for the end all to be all. You've got to understand that it is a battle each and every time, because we're here. It's about, that's what service, it says public service, but I think people forget both words. It's public, but it's also service. It's in service of others. It doesn't matter whether you're an elected official or you are a public official. People want information. They want access to resources on how we can get stuff done. And so, I would say my insight is, if you decide you're going to do it, you got to be what? All in. Same thing we're saying now about this election. You got to be all in. Don't look back. Don't look back.
Moving forward.
And even if it doesn't turn out the way that you want it to be, I always say there's so many opportunities. Because one of my mottos is, even when you lose, you win. And you have to decide, what was that?
You learned from it.
Exactly. You gotta gird yourself up. You've got to understand that you got to stay in prayer. You got to be faithful. You got to have great friends and family, like so many of you on this call, the Cheryl Persons who came to work with me. You got to.
She was working with you in the campaign.
All my HU friends and family from Charlie. It is all of you came to stand with me, and you've got to be looking and be thankful and grateful for people who came, whether they gave you $5 or $50. Did they come on and help you on election day? Did they come and give you advice? You've got to be thankful, grateful, and you got to then always remember that there are others that are there wanting to maybe do the same thing. And then you got to be open to be able to share the good as well as the not so good.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. And then we've got so many generations that we're working with. I mean, think about what's happening. We're in a very I call it the transformative moment right now that we're in. And so there's a lot going on that people are going to always be saying, oh, no, you shouldn't do that. You ought to do this. People telling you what you should do, what you shouldn't do. But, I think you stay open. I think you got to
learn from anybody.
You can learn from anybody. Don't get jaded. Don't get tired. One of my friends called me up and she was like, we've been in COVID quarantine for over months and you just still, I said, look, honey, you got to be every day when you get up.
It's the message. It's the message in your head that you tell yourself.
Yeah, it's a mindset.
Yeah, right.
It's a mindset that we have to constantly be resetting, like you did when we joined the call. It was like, I didn't think about getting up, breathing this morning. But that ain't so bad. I think I need to keep
doing it throughout the day. Give yourself some oxygen, a pathway to reset your mindset with intentional thoughts from the inside out. Listen, this has been great. I want to get a few comments that you have in here that people are speaking directly to you. Rita Jo Lewis. What do you think about the media and the journalist suggestions to stop reporting the negative comments and wrong information by the current president? What do you think about that in short? And then I'm going to read the other ones so we can get them all in because we only got a few minutes left. Cynthia says, what do you say to the African Americans that hate her because she sent so many Black men to prison as a prosecutor? We're talking about Senator Harris. I'm exhausted debating with other African Americans on this topic. To your point about knowing your information and being armed with it. And then Cheryl Person says, absolutely, #Team Lewis. So if you can share a little bit of all of that and then tell everybody how they can get involved in Women of Color for Biden Harris and how they can get in touch with you.
Well, you know what? You can always get in touch with me. I'm on LinkedIn as Reta Jo Lewis. You can link into me. I'm on, we are Women of Color for Biden.com. On our website, you can sign up. You can go to our Facebook and Twitter page, which is, capital W, small case OC for Biden on Twitter and Facebook. And you can follow us and share information and put in there and ask us, questions. We are having weekly Wednesdays. We call them weekly Wednesdays at 7:00, where we have had a whole host host of individuals, very diverse women and men, to be able to share and information and to give our group that constant call to action about the trainings and the work that we need to do. I just love Cheryl, my girl on the team, Lewis. Thank you very much. She, as I say, she was with me every day. She was there. She was standing in the gap for you, Charlie.
I love her. Mm-hmm.
And the media right now, and it's not even just the media, all around us, there's so much negativity and attack on Black men and Black women and people of color. It's, and it has increased. Do we think it's going to be any different just because, a glass ceiling was broken a couple of days ago? No, it's going to be harder. It's going to be rough. But, once you get past that ceiling, you can see the other side. So as I'm sure, Senator Harris is looking around, she can see it. We have to see it. We have to see it. We have to believe it. We have to feel it. We have to have the energy to put forth it. And so when people say negative things, we need to push back. And we need to, instead of always trying to explain to them, ask them where did they get that information from? And then you can send them to her biography. You can send them to the site, because, some of these people you are never going to convince.
Right.
But you need to have that basic information out there. But the media, right now we're getting information from everywhere, from our mailbox to our television, to our family, our friends,
our phone.
Here, our phones. And so right now, are we going to be we're going to have to push back when we see something happening, especially to our women who are out there running and our men, just like we are now. Black Lives Matter is now what? Multi-ethnic, multi-racial, multi-generational. That's the same way we're going to have to be throughout this movement of voting to get to the other side, to be able to really see and then celebrate a Joe Biden who has selected a woman who happened to be African American of Indian descent to be his partner in the battle that we are now going to have to face on day one. We're going to have to do the work. This is work.
Well, he said that in that first call when he invited her and said, "Are you ready to roll up your sleeves and get to work?"
He said, "Let's get to work. My father and my mother would come get us every morning, be like, "Get up."
Charlie told me.
First it would be like, "Get up and go to school." And then because they were entrepreneurs, I was the one always, "Okay, I'll go to work. So I think, in the back of my head, I've always got this, let's go to work. Let's go to work.
Yes.
Thought it was because I was trying to get away from cooking and cleaning. But
well, listen.
The money is still there. But no, it's just been an awesome opportunity to be here at this transformative moment in our politics and in our nation. In our democracy. And for someone like myself who has traveled extensively around the world, I've been honored. I've been fortunate to represent our country, to represent the president, to represent the Secretary of State, but more importantly, to represent the American people. Because when you're there, you are the representative. And for them to be able to see individuals like ourselves, someone said, are you a hidden figure? I start out first saying, but all of us are hidden figures, because people really don't know who you are. They don't know what you've done. And unless you tell them, people have no idea what our family members have gone through, what our family members and our moms and dads have gone through to raise us, to get us to this point. But one of the things is that I believe if we stay in faith, we stay in prayer, and we stay in the fight. And
I love it.
Go vote.
Thank you. I wanted to ask you to give your pearl of wisdom. I usually ask, so stay in faith, stay in the fight, stay in prayer. Right? Did you say it that way? Stay in
and go vote.
Go vote. Thank you so much. Thank you. Listen, this has been wonderful. Our crew loves you now. You must come back. Will you come back?
I will totally come back.
All right. We got work to do, you and I, for women of color. So
we have to have some courageous conversations, because it is, like I said, our network is we've been around since 2015. And, now we can use not only our convenings, but we can now virtually, we don't have to do it in public anymore because of COVID, but we need to now expanding out to Facebook Live. And like I said, we're all on the internet. So we just need your help. We need your support. We need you to, what do they say? Like, share, be involved, and come join us as we are in this fight to elect the 46th president of the United States of America, Joe Biden. Mhm.
Senator Harris. Yes. Well, thank you so much. I love you. I know that you got a lot of things to go for, do for the day. So I'm going to say goodbye to you. We're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to give them a recap, and we're going to go on about our day. But thank you so much. We love
No,
you. Thank you,
thank you.
Sora.
Thank
Have a
you.
beautiful. Oh my goodness. Wasn't that wonderful, crew? Listen, Reta Jo Lewis is the truth. I always say that about her. She is the truth. Talk about hidden figure. That was awesome. She gave great information to us. This week, it's about freedom fighters. Today was about women lead. I couldn't think of a better person, a more powerful and a more influential, a more phenomenal person than to have with us than Reta Jo Lewis. So make sure that you go to her, reach out to her. Gail said, thank you both. Wonderful show. Thank you so much, Gail. Make sure you reach out to her. Make sure you join Women of Color for Biden or Harris, or just, as she said, join all the various affinity groups, whatever you have time to do, and also give of your resources if you have them. Cynthia said, great example. Proud of you. Thank you. And Charlotte said, yes, it was awesome. Darlene is on as well. Building great relationships. Thank you all. Listen, we are going to continue to have these courageous conversations in our Connect space. We're going to continue to have our quarantine talks every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 10 a.m. We have phenomenal speakers coming on, just like we did this week. We had Bishop Sean Bartley on. We have Reta Jo Lewis. Next week, we're going to have some great speakers as well. And I want you to have a wonderful day. All right? So I love you. There's nothing you can do about it. Make sure that you have a wonderful day. Continue to breathe, and have a beautiful day on purpose from our heart.